The agent's response came 6 weeks later. Elias was working at the bookstore, shelving new arrivals in the fiction section, when his phone buzzed with an email notification. He almost didn't look. He'd trained himself to check his email only during breaks to avoid the constant anxiety of waiting. But something made him pull out his phone. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was just chance. The email was from the agent. "Elias, I've finished reading your novella. Can we talk? I have some thoughts I'd like to discuss. When would be a good time for a call?" His heart pounded. Some thoughts could mean anything, good or bad. He replied immediately, suggesting that evening, and then spent the rest of his shift in a state of barely controlled panic. The call came at 7 o'clock. Elias was in his small room, pacing like a caged animal. When his phone rang, he took a deep breath and answered. "Elias, thank you for taking my call," the agent said. Her name was Diana, and her voice was professional but warm. "I want to start by saying I loved your novella. The emotional depth, the character development, the way you handle themes of grief and healing. It's really exceptional work, especially for a new writer." Elias felt his knees go weak with relief. "Thank you. That means everything to me. However," Diana continued, and Elias's stomach dropped, "I think you're capable of more. What you've written is a beautiful novella, but I think the story wants to be a full novel. I think you have more to say about these characters, about these themes, and I think readers would respond to a longer, more developed work." "A novel?" Elias repeated, his mind spinning. He'd never considered writing something that long, that ambitious. "I know it's a lot to ask," Diana said. "It would mean more work, more time, really digging deep into the story. But, Elias, if you're willing to do that work, I believe we could sell this book. I believe your story deserves to reach a wide audience. What do you think?" What did he think? He thought about the lighthouse, about all those years of feeling trapped, of dreaming small because he was too afraid to dream big. He thought about his father, learning to garden at 60, starting over when most people would have given up. He thought about every small act of courage that had brought him to this moment. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady and sure. "I'll expand it into a novel. I want to tell the whole story."
The next year was the hardest and most rewarding of Elias's life. He worked on the novel with a focus and dedication he'd never known he possessed. He expanded the story, adding new layers, new characters, new insights. He wrote about the complexity of parent-child relationships, about how trauma echoes through generations, about the courage it takes to break those patterns. He wrote about his mother, bringing her to life on the page in ways he'd never been able to before. He wrote about the woman she'd been, vibrant, curious, full of love, and about the hole her death had left in their lives. In the novel, the mother figure became more than just a memory. She became a character with agency, with dreams of her own, with a voice that spoke across time. The writing process was grueling. There were days when he doubted every word, when he wanted to give up, when the blank page seemed like an accusation of his inadequacy. But he kept going. He showed up every morning, sat down at his desk, and did the work. Margaret read drafts as he completed them, offering feedback and encouragement. His father read sections too, during Elias's visits home, providing insights that only someone who'd lived that life could offer. Even Diana, the agent, would read chapters and offer editorial guidance, shaping the manuscript into something stronger, clearer, more powerful. Slowly, painfully, beautifully, the novel took shape. It became something larger than Elias had imagined, not just his story, but a universal story about loss and love, about letting go and holding on, about the lighthouses we build in our lives and when we need to leave them behind.
When he finally typed the last sentence and wrote, "The end," it was 3 in the morning. Elias sat back in his chair, staring at the screen, feeling a mix of exhaustion and elation unlike anything he'd ever experienced. He'd done it. He'd written a novel. He called his father, even though it was so late. Thomas answered immediately, as if he'd been waiting. "I finished it, Dad. The novel. It's done." "I knew you would," Thomas said, and Elias could hear the pride in his voice. "Tell me, how does it end?" The father and son say goodbye at the bus station. But it's not a sad goodbye. It's a hopeful one. The son is leaving to pursue his dreams, and the father is staying behind to build a new life. They both understand that letting go of each other is an act of love, and they both know that no matter how far apart they are, they'll always be connected. There was a long pause, and then Thomas said quietly, "That's perfect, Elias. That's exactly right."